To the extent it's possible, all those things that bother others, from our overall character flaws to our issues and our negative thoughts, all those things that bother others as well as ourselves. Think about all the diseases that are caused by our sadness and distress, by our internal tension. At least that part of ourselves, as much as possible, through God's grace, we ought to aim to diminish. And that's where the gifts will start to multiply.
Και εκεί θα δούμε να αυξάνονται τα χαρίσματα.
We all make up scenarios in our heads, right? We all have our thoughts, too. Normally, thoughts just come and go, whereas these scenarios typically have to do with our psyche. Perhaps our experiences in the womb, our genes, the environment, etc. Thoughts are a bit more complex and likely harder to change, whereas thoughts simply come and go, thousands of them.
Λίγο πιο δύσκολο είναι. Οι σκέψεις περνάνε και φεύγουν. Χιλιάδες σκέψεις περνάνε στον καθένα. Για να
In order to cultivate a positive mindset, we'll have to fight to turn that negative thinking process around, precisely because we do have it. When we get a bad thought, as Saint Paisios beautifully put it, we need to turn the wheel the other way around. We should instantly look back at ourselves. That's why self-awareness is necessary in order to cultivate a positive mindset. How could I possibly judge someone when I'm worse than them? Or let's say I witness something bad, I will think, if I were in that person's position, what would I do? Or take this beautiful example from Geronticon. There was a woman who was considered to be of loose morals. She was dolled up. Everybody, of course, judged her and called her names, all while an ascetic was there crying. Why are you crying? I'm pondering if that is this woman's attitude towards outer beauty. Am I, a monk, as passionate about Jesus? Free of judgment, he turns back to himself. He practices self-awareness. He puts in a good thought about that woman and can thus pray. If we fail to turn our thoughts around, we will most certainly end up at the psych ward. This is a symptom of our times. We are, of course, no strangers to it here either. We're here at the door speaking to someone, and someone else is standing over there by the church, about 150 meters away. Naturally, when talking to someone, we will smile or absent-mindedly look around. No, you were staring at me. From that point on, it's over. You're scared even. It's scary because if that's how you choose to view things, as our elder used to say, you're not being fair to yourself. He didn't say, you're damaging yourself, but rather, you're not being fair to yourself. And then we end up alone, crying and complaining about it. But who would approach a person they're too scared to talk to? Because that person would instantly start judging either them or someone else. It's really exhausting. We're in need of sweet, comforting words, a hug. But we keep judging all the time. I was sent a message the other day about a person that went to church and his phone rang. It happens to all of us. That person was obviously embarrassed because he couldn't turn it off. The priest scolded him. The people there praying scolded him. He left with his wife, and she scolded him too for being thoughtless. He left feeling upset, and that same night, the story said, he went to a bar. His phone rings. Actually, no. He orders a drink because he was feeling tense. He was shaky. He drops the drink. An employee comes over and says to him, "It's okay, sir," and cleans it up immediately. Another person pats him on the back and tells him, "Don't sweat it, dude, it's all right." And that person, having had those two experiences, didn't want to step into a church again. Tell me, who's to blame for this? We often just say, well, that person simply is the way he is. Do we have any clue as to why he is the way that he is? Are we even aware that we have the power to change his negative thoughts? You know, this is a trap too. We only care about ourselves, about our own thoughts. Have we ever cared to help change someone else's thoughts? This too is important. Looking at the other person, exiting my own problems helps me understand that the other person is just like me. They may even have bigger problems than me and need me. That way, we can feel a little more human in our relationships. But we all stay in our own issues. I have my own thoughts, my own problems. Even if I blame myself, I'm still expecting everyone else to turn to me and deal with my problem, and I never really come out of my shell. When Eldress Gabriela saw that, you know what she did? She would see a person overthinking and tell them, "Go help at that hospital where there's people in need. If you don't go, it's your loss." She would immediately make you leave your problems to the side, exit yourself.
Ο Αρχιεπίσκοπος Αλβανίας.
I remember Archbishop Anastasios of Albania, who was one of our university professors. He said that in order to find ourselves, we need to offer ourselves. Otherwise, we lose it. Anything that's closed, take a short circuit, for example, will get burned eventually. It needs to be opened. It's impossible not to care about ourselves at all. But we should do so in a positive sense, meaning we can acknowledge our positive attributes. That is not a sin. We often get that mixed up. Say someone is a talented artist or musician. It's not a sin to admit it. Everyone suddenly becomes so modest when it comes to that. They do have that talent, yes, but it's for glorifying God and serving others. It goes south when we choose to go on our own and say, "I have a good voice and nobody else does," for instance. Or, "I'm a great artist, but I need to degrade all other artists in order to prove my superiority." We are all experts of everything.
Όλοι είμαστε ειδικοί σε όλα. Βλέπετε τι γίνεται. Όλοι είμαστε ειδικοί σε όλα. Άρα λοιπόν...
Yes, we should be taking care of ourselves because, as Father Vasilios Thermos so wisely put it, in order to have a self to give, I need to actually have a self first. So I do need to find myself. I can't just ignore myself and not care about me. However, the mindset should be this gift that God has given me, how can I offer it to others? Not keep it to myself. This flaw of mine, could it bother a lot of people? Could I somehow limit it? Again, it's impossible to completely erase our flaws, but we can, however, fight to limit them. I remember our elder. Due to hardships, he always had a very heavy body. Most people from Asia Minor had rough bodies due to the hardships they went through. They were starving. He would say, "You may see me eat 2 plates of pasta and wonder why I'm eating so much, but you have no clue how much self-control I'm practicing in order not to have 4 plates." We need to realize our flaws and try to diminish them as much as possible through prayer to Jesus, acknowledging and accepting them first and foremost, not hiding them or viewing them through a distorting mirror, which shows a fine, slender version of myself. I need to see reality, pray for God's mercy, and when it comes to others, only see the positive, not the negative. Because it's usually either one or the other.
Όχι τα στραβά. Γιατί συνήθως γίνεται ή το ένα ή το άλλο.
Again, I do accept myself while praying for God's mercy. Because Christ made us perfect. He made us perfect in His image. But among our genes, our environment, how each person is born, with the respective cross they bear, there are a lot of things that negatively impact our personality. The purpose, however, for which Christ has created us is through bearing His image to reach theosis in His likeness. So throughout this journey, which is a tough one for all of us, and it basically takes up all our lives. I remember St. Sophronios used to say that egotism leaves us after death, and it sure does. But at least, to the extent it's possible, all those things that bother others, from our overall character flaws to our issues and our negative thoughts, all those things that bother others as well as ourselves. Think about all the diseases that are caused by our sadness and distress, by our internal tension. At least, that part of ourselves, as much as possible, through God's grace, we ought to aim to diminish. And that's where the gifts will start to multiply, as well as all kinds of potential that we're not even aware of. We honestly know very little about ourselves. So to conclude, it is crucial to focus on ourselves, and we can't really get rid of our egos. But let's turn our approach around.
Άρα λοιπόν είναι απαραίτητη η στροφή στον εαυτό μας και δεν μπορούμε να τα απαλλαγούμε από το εγώ μας, αλλά ας το στρέψουμε έτσι.